Okay. Hello, everyone. So, week 7 results for the 2022 Spacechem tournament. Let's see here. I'm gonna go and get all these solutions. And let me go and import them. Uh-oh. Maybe I need the actual original, Whoopsies. Let me check and see if it's, might be just one person. Okay, yeah. Somebody typed a place where they shouldn't exactly have, and now I have to import these one by one. Alright. So one thing happened. GG Goal sent me a solution right at midnight, and unfortunately the puzzle deadline is 11:59 the day before. It's done like that to yeah, it's done like that so that the day that it's due is unambiguous, because if I had a puzzle due right at midnight, it's a little ambiguous at whether or not it's like the previous day or the next day. Technically it's the next day, but it gets messy. Now, if this was literally any other tournament, aka I weren't using the bot, I definitely would have tried to incorporate his solution into the scores. But unfortunately, because the bot does all of this by itself, and I really don't know how to work with this bot to like change previous rounds scores. I'll look into it. If I can figure out how to do that, I will definitely go and update the score. I'd much rather be accommodating to someone who accidentally submitted it a minute late than not. But again, that's something for me to figure out in the next weekish or so. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'll go quickly do a puzzle introduction. For this week's puzzle, so this week's puzzle is The Dark Side of Cernamere 4, which is a direct reference to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Specifically, the idea of this puzzle is Greek fusion slash fission. It's Greek fission. The idea is these elements, the fictional elements, which are all the way down here, they're actually notated in the game as elements 200, 201, 202, and 203. One thing that you can do is you can actually split these elements. with a fission reactor, and this will get you, 100 plus 100, or 101 plus 100, all the way up to 102 plus 101. Now that corresponds to these two elements here, and it's rather curious, because one of the things that I wanted to incorporate in this tournament was I wanted there to be at least one puzzle where you had to, or rather, you didn't have to do Greek fission in this puzzle, but the alternative is you have a reactor down here and you fuse everything up from hydrogen. I don't think anyone sent me a solution of that caliber. I believe no. I don't think anyone sent me a solution that is a single reactor fusion reactor solution. It's very possible though. But yes, the idea of this puzzle, and this is the version with the recycler here. The idea is I want to create a rainbow stick. So let me find the rainbow stick version real quick. Go and get this imported. So this is the original puzzle. The idea is you want to make a rainbow stick. And some interesting things to note of this puzzle. Right, the rainbow stick. So what is the rainbow stick? The rainbow stick is 5 atoms, and each atom has to be colored a very specific way. By that, I mean a rainbow is Roy G. Biv. We all learned this in elementary school, I hope. Red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet. Now, in Spacechem, your atoms are actually different colors depending on how many bonds they have. So if I edit this target molecule and I select from my elements, let's see here. So element 100, or let's say 101, is mendelevium. And you might notice that this is blue, because it's got a bond limit of 3. This is a thing that's kind of unique to Spacechem. Every atom has a color associated with its bond limit. Now, for the next one, so anything with 2 bonds is like a maximum bond limit of 2 appears kind of on the reddish side. You can see oxygen is kind of the same color, and anything that is 4 bonds is actually green. Now, there's also another interesting thing, is this is chlorine over here, and you might notice that chlorine and aluminum are both kind of green. But chlorine has a bond limit of 7. This is rather curious because these two greens, if you look into the game code, it is actually so slightly different. Yeah, it's one of the slight grievances I have with this color-coded system, in that these two greens are almost virtually indistinguishable. But yes, the 7 bond limit and the 4 bond limit atoms, they do actually have slightly different colors. As for purple, or rather violet, I should say, or indigo, bond limit of 5 gets you something close to that color. And lastly, a bond limit of 6, let me see if I can find something. I think that would be this one. Would also get you something close to yellowish orange. So those are the colors that are available to us. Now, with this out of the way, I'm going to go and save and exit this customized solution, and you can see here that the rainbow stick shows up really nicely. I'm going to go and import actually my own solve to this to get you a explanation of how this works. Here we go. So this was my test solution to this puzzle. And all it is actually a one reactor solution. Speaking of which, the reactors that you have available in this puzzle are rather special. You have a fission reactor, which has only one input, you might notice here. If you pipe it into the second input here, where the second input would be, and you try to input beta, nothing happens because it's not connected. Now, if you connect it to the alpha, of course, things work. Now, these reactors, the fission reactor has this lower input disabled, and the fusion reactor has the lower output disabled. This is something that was kind of introduced in Danop, I think it's the second planet, where they had assembly-only reactors and disassembly-only reactors. The only difference is that here, in this case, we have fission-only reactors and fusion-only reactors. And these only have one fission or one fusion laser within each of them. So there's some interesting routing that happens because of this. If you wanted to have both fission and fusion in your solution, and you did not want to do, and you wanted to like alternate between fission and fusion and doing that kind of thing back and forth, you might notice that if I piped my reactors like this, where my input goes here, there's no way for me to actually get this fusion product out back to my fission reactor to kind of do reiterated fusion and fission. So the way that you have to do this is you have to do some kind of feedback loop where you have your fusion reactor first, you have your output over here, and then you loop your reactor around like this. Now, of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be this bottom pipe. For example, I can just do something like this, and the top pipe can also be used to loop back, and now your output is down here. Or, you can cross something like this, and then here's your output. It all really depends on how you design your reactors. So with that out of the way, I will quickly show you what a rainbow stick is. This is a pretty compact solution, and all this is doing is I'm splitting these, that's the molecule I used. It's iron. This here is technically a rainbow stick. Violet, blue, green, yellow, red. So red, orange / yellow, green, blue, violet. And let me go and actually edit this level so it runs. Iron, iron, iron. Fe. There we go. Just shove that there. Okay. Okay. And save changes, and I have to go and re-import my solution. Yeah. So you can split a single element delta, which becomes, right, 102 and 101, because this is element 203. And if you just keep splitting these things down, you'll eventually get down to all of these elements. So yes, technically it is actually possible to make one rainbow stick out of every single element delta just via fission. And this is one way to do it. and this will drop an output there and over here. The rainbow stick does not have to be in this specific like U-shaped form. You could make it any conformation you want. That is a Spacechem thing. And there's something interesting to note. You might notice that this reactor is stalling on the alpha input a rather large amount of time, for a rather long time. That's because I specifically edited the input rate of this puzzle to be once every, I believe it's 73? I don't remember exactly what it was. Yeah, I believe it's 73. Yeah, 74-ish. For those who understand that reference, congratulations. And the hydrogen output here is once every 10 cycles, which is the normal input rate. The reason why I picked this specific input rate is because I want this puzzle to be primarily about Greek fission. Yes, you can use hydrogen to make everything. It would not be very efficient, but even then, I wanted the hydrogen there mostly to be a flexibility / correction tool there. Like, for example, if you were just one atomic weight off of a specific color that you needed, then you can like add this hydrogen to get you over that hurdle. Yeah. So with that out of the way, I'm going to go and open up the real puzzles now. So first up is resonance, and yes, there are more solutions. I just need to import them one by one. So here is resonance solution. Now, we can take a look at exactly what's happening here. Split, split, split into manganese and iron, drop and drop. Yeah. And here's your output. Now the all that blue here is doing, so this is doing almost the same as my solution. The only difference is my solution splits this manganese into 13 plus 12. 13 is aluminum, which is also green. 12 is manganese. Sorry, no, not manganese. Magnesium. Mg, not Mn. In English, they're rather confusingly very closely named. And 12 has actually got a bottom limit of 2, which is red. So unfortunately, Resonance did not quite see that, which means that they had to go and use 2 reactors to get this this red atom onto the end of the stick, and that's done using this 4 counter here, just input beta and fuse 3 times. But yes, this is a valid solution. Yeah, and you can note that there's a rather long delay here due to the fact that the input delay to this puzzle is extended. So, you are not bound to making one output per every element delta. Because if you look at the periodic table for all of our elements, we have the lightest element that you could use for this rainbow stick, right? It's beryllium for red. The first 6 bond limit is actually sulfur at 16 for the orange / yellow. Your first green is actually carbon. And then blue would be boron, which is 5. And for violet, it would be nitrogen. So if you actually look at that, those are some pretty light elements. Because of that, I was like, there is a lot of design space and freedom, open-endedness to this puzzle for what output you want to choose. Remember, you can output any rainbow stick as long as the colors match. It didn't need to be the same thing every single time. I did that because I was just trying to hammer out a solve. But for something like that, if you do the math, which is 203, divided by this sum, which is going to be 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 16, you'll notice that the maximum number of outputs that you can get per every single element delta is actually 5.342, which means you could make more than 5 outputs per every single element delta. Is that realistic? Almost definitely not. Remember that every element delta, well, is it realistic? If you grinded down a element delta into hydrogen and you fused it back up, yes, you can very easily get to this number by just fusing it that way, but it wouldn't be competitive because the amount of cycles that you'd need to split the delta down that much is too much. But you can definitely get more than one product out of this. For example, the blue element that we're using here is element 101, which is very, very high. We can, if we wanted to, we could split this and do some fusion and that kind of thing. In fact, I was limited in the colors I chose because I chose to do this in one reactor, which means that I do not have access to fusion. But with 2 reactors, there are many, many pathways to getting all the colors you need. So we'll have to see for. I am not going to. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go and speculate on what other possible pathways could have been taken. The solution space is too large for this. So I will just go and say instead that there could have been possibilities of making this faster. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scoring solutions where the output is meant to be, or the output is made at 1 output per element delta. So I will say that much. But yes, this is a solution. Unfortunately, because it's making 1 element per element delta, if you do the math, which is going to be 73 or 74, I don't remember exactly which, times 43 outputs will get you a cycle count of somewhere around 3,100. But because this one is 2 reactors, it is penalized a little bit for a score of 3,429.8. All right, Astro Nelson is up next. And we see roughly the same idea. Here we go. And drop out. And here we have the same. Now, one thing that I will note is this could have been 1 cycle faster. If this is hammering output instead of fuse, then red can drop an output on the same cycle. But this is definitely done for the sake of symbols. This is more elegant. But yes, same idea as resumes. Take this, split it down to this, these 4 colors. Unfortunately, yes, you could have split this manganese to get your aluminum, which is also green, and element 12, magnesium for your red. Slightly faster, 5 cycles faster because it is slightly less latency than Resume's solution. Yeah, apologies. It's the garage door. It's rather loud. So unfortunately, or rather fortunately, the increase of 5 latency manages to make this solution beat Resume's solution, but it doesn't score all that much higher. It's 3400, 24.3. Alrighty, going on to the next solution. If I can bring it up. The next solution is by Binky. Copy and import. Here we go. So here is Binky's solution. Now we've got some splitting here. Manganese, okay. And I'm guessing this gets corrected in this reactor here. Yep, 13 plus 3 will get you 16, which is silver. And that is yellow. So this does splitting and correction. Unfortunately, Binky also missed that. Now, how this solution misses the yellow atom that was in the previous other solutions was that this takes the element 101 and splits that instead of the element 102. Why is that important? More specifically, what is being split is the tin is being split here instead of the antimony. If you split element 50, you'll get 25 plus 25, which is manganese, and you'll get 2 of those, which are both going to be green. If you split this element 51 instead, you would obtain 26 plus 25, and 26 is your iron, which is actually yellow. So that's where it's differing from the previous 2 solutions, and where it's missing that kind of color. The reason why 51 is not being split here is because the this is the only source of purple or violet in this solution. If the nobelium was split instead of the mendelevium, which is 102 instead of 101, then you would have 2 antimonies here, and you would be able to split one for the rest of the things. So yes, splitting and correction here. Very nice. Even less latency than Astronelson and Resumes, but unfortunately it is still hampered by the lack of element delta. So this is still roughly going to score around 3100 cycles, and but it is an improvement of 7 latency on Astronelson. Cycles of 3106 for a score of 3416.6. All right, up next is Anime. Copy and import. So Anime also has a 1 reactor solve, And here we can see, can split off this magnesium. And from that, this is your rainbow stick. Yeah, so this solution works, has the same approach as my test solution. The idea is there's a way of doing this in one reactor just by splitting, which is to take this, the element 101, mendelevium, and you split the element 102, so nobelium, and that will get you 2 violet atoms, and this antimony will get you your iron and your manganese, your yellow and your green, and you split it again to get red. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of bond manipulation that has to be done here because it accidentally bonds a little bit too much. But that is okay. Because this is a one reactor solution, this doesn't incur the additional reactor penalty. So this actually scores 3122 exact, which is actually also exactly the cycle score. Coming up next is Yellow Bunny, who also has a one reactor solution, just a slightly lower latency. Here we go. Some splitting here. Same idea of manganese and aluminum. However, this solution is a little bit different. Yep. Here we go. So it builds it all into a stick at first, before it goes and fixes this stick. So right there, and then over here, then that. So that, if you squint your eyes, is also a rainbow stick. So Yellow Bunny is saying that they also made a solution with 2 outputs per element delta, but the stick assembly was too slow, so it ended up scoring worse than that. That was a little unfortunate. Yeah. But yes, this is the same idea. You can actually do this puzzle in one reactor. You can do it in one fission reactor, specifically. You can also do it in one fusion reactor, but nobody did that. Because if you recall, it would take at least 38 atomic weight, which is all the lightest atoms of each color added up. And if you multiply that by the output, or the input delay of the hydrogen, that means you would need 380 cycles per output, which is much, much slower than every 73 cycles, which is from this. 73 or 74, I don't remember. But yes. So Yellow Bunny has slightly lower latency at 3115 for a metric of also 3115. Now this is the last solution that makes one output per input. The rest of the solutions were faster than this by a decent amount, and that is where these solutions get a little bit more complicated. Let me see here. See if this one is the one that has the broken input thing. Import as new solution. It is not. So, whoever 314. Yes, so this puzzle can very easily start to get very messy. All right. Let's start analyzing this. Thank you very much for putting in annotations. Yes, these things are hard. So we've got manganese, carbon, magnesium, nitrogen. Oh, all right. So that outputted carbon, magnesium, nitrogen here. So if you add that up, that is 19 plus 6. That was the original manganese that was here. And then it split a whole bunch of manganese into this. And I believe also a tin? Yes. Yeah. And then it's going to split into some aluminum. And then output an aluminum stick. All right. Very interesting. And then, yeah, goes right back to processing the next one. So this one is not quite input speed, but very close, I believe. Let me see here. So this goes next, and $74. There we go. So it's 74 cycles per input, and this thing runs in 80 cycles. All right. So it could be slightly faster if everything else is faster, but we don't know about that. Now let's take a look at what this reactor does. Ooh. So here's the hydrogen input for the correction, and it drops out off calcium. Okay. Tin plus aluminum is element 63, or 1 below gadolinium, and gets corrected to gadolinium. Okay. And this gets to gallium, gets up to germanium. Okay. And then that's the rest of that is dropped off. Now there's some interesting elements in this pipeline already. Specifically, calcium is element 20, that is 4 times 5, or 4 borons right in there. So that is 4 atoms that are blue. Gadolinium is 4 times 16, which is sulfur, which is the lightest orange element. Germanium, technically, is 4 times 8. Oxygen, which is twice as heavy as beryllium. Beryllium is the lightest red atom, but oxygen is not that far away. And here we go. Synchronize, and let's see. And here we see we can split 4 times to get the stick of boron, and then repeat the same thing for the stick of sulfur, and repeat the same thing for a stick of oxygen. Now, this is very clever system reactor design, because it means that with just different inputs here, I can run the same algorithm on each of these input atoms, and I will get, different but useful atoms out here. This is very nice and very clever. Now, what happens to this? Gets dropped off into the recycler. Alrighty. Then let's take a look at this aluminum stick. Right. So aluminum is also 7 plus 5, or 7 plus 6, and you can make that stick like this. Green and purple. Violet. I'll keep saying purple by accident. But yes, now we've got all of our sticks of different colors, and all that's left is to bond all of them. It's a lot of very large, complicated saw and dance here. Yep, so it processes these in a stack of 4 every single time. Alrighty, so we've analyzed how the solution works. Overall, this is actually very good. This is very nice. This is 4 outputs per every input. The atomic weight of the outputs is 42 because we know that the lightest possible output is done using berylliums, and that's the only thing that this solution is not 100% efficiency. Again, I don't expect that because getting that last bit of efficiency means a lot more complicated fusion fission magic. But overall, where is the waste? The waste is there's 4 times 4. There's 16 atoms, AMU, atomic mass units of waste in the oxygen, and there's the magnesium aluminum stick up here that is not used. So this here is 38, and if you recall, 38 is the lightest. You can technically make 1 rainbow stick out of all of this. So 4 outputs per input, though, it's still very, very reasonably efficient. That is, I believe, like more than 70% efficient. Let me see if I can calculate that real quick. So 38 times 4. No. Sure. 42 times 4 divided by 203 plus about 7. Yeah, so it's about 80% efficient. This is, yeah, pretty remarkably efficient for what it's doing. Maybe high 70s because I assumed that this is, using the oxygen. But yes, this is, overall, I believe this solution is very nice. Very elegant reuse of this. Unfortunately, you can see that this pipe here is backed up. And that's because this reactor has to run 3 times for every single input. Yeah, and it's stalling on the synchronized, which means that this isn't actually running at input speed. And even if this reactor was running at input speed, recall that this reactor takes 80 cycles instead of 74. I can never remember whether or not it's 74 or 73. Uh-oh. Yeah. So this reactor, turns out, this solution doesn't run for an infinite amount of time, but that is okay, because by cycle 1427, it has already outputted more than 43 outputs. The solutions here are not, they do not need to run forever, because that would have made things a lot more complicated, and I did not want the bot to have to check this. But yes. So that is our first more than 1 output per input solution with a output to input ratio of 4. Congratulations, whoever 314, for this elegant solution. The cycle count is 1230, but unfortunately, because there are 5 reactors here, that corresponds to a metric of 1722. For every additional reactor used after the first reactor incurs a penalty of about 10%. Yeah. Coming up next is the team. Light speed is too slow. And let's see if this solution is the one that breaks everything. It is not. Alrighty. So, this is also a 5-reactor solution, and let's take a look. Unfortunately, oh, they did annotate things. They're just kind of all over the place. Okay. 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, let's take a look here. Split here. Alright. Split there. Okay. Split there. Okay. Magnesium and aluminum. Here's another magnesium and aluminum. And there's another magnesium and aluminum. And that's another magnesium and aluminum. And here's all of the leftovers that do not get magnesium and aluminum. That's the leftover stick. So far, we have split it into a stream of magnesium and aluminum. Cool. Let's take a look at this top reactor. Excuse me, what is this? Sloppy. It's fine. Carbon, lithium, and alrighty. Interesting. Interesting. So with element 12, let's see here. You can make 4 plus 8, which is both red, beryllium plus oxygen. You can make 5 plus 7, which is boron plus nitrogen, which is blue and purple. Or you can make 2 carbons. Alrighty. And what are they doing here? It is boron plus nitrogen, I believe. Yeah. Yep, boron plus nitrogen. So that's what this top pipeline is doing. It is turning magnesium, element 12, into 5 plus 7, which is blue and purple. Violet. Alright, next up, this one. Aluminum, and a whole bunch of iron. Okay. So this purifies this stream into purely aluminum. Now, what about this? 6. Oh boy. Alright, let me take a look at that at a slightly slower speed. Alrighty. Synchronize, drop, split. So 6 plus 7 is there. Split here gets you 3. So lithium, beryllium. Alright. So this outputs the lithium. And you've got 13 plus 4 plus 6 here, and output. All right. So now we have these two in the pipeline. Let's see what happens here. So lithium, aluminum, beryllium. 3 plus 13. That is sulfur. That's going to be orange. Your carbon is right there. Very nice. So that is a stick of as light as possible, or as light as can be. So this is making the lightest possible stick. But that means that this solution definitely does not run forever. Because 203 does not divide into 38. Which means that the waste here in this solution is invisible. As in, it is the waste that is present is an imbalance in the ratios coming out of these two pipes. So if we go and count this, for every single element delta, we have, let's see here, 1 magnesium, 2 magnesium, 3 magnesium, 4 magnesium, 5 magnesium. So we have 5 of these outputs, and down here we have let's see here. Start from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 8, 9. Let me quickly go and do some math here. So 5 times 12 plus 9 times 13. That's not right. It's 11 times 13. So 5 times 12 plus 11 times 13 is 203. Alrighty, so right, and every single one of these uses 2 aluminums. So there's actually 5.5. Yeah, that is where the inefficiency is. So for every 5 outputs worth of magnesium coming out of this top pipe, 5.5 outputs are coming out of this bottom pipe. Now, it's actually rather, it's actually kind of easy to fix this imbalance just by dropping this aluminum into this recycler every now and then. Or this reactor could have been a little bit less efficient. Yeah, I think this bottom pipeline could definitely be improved because it doesn't need to run at maximum efficiency. If this bottom pipeline could have been 1 reactor instead of 2 to make the product out here, but still run at 5 outputs, that would save 10% on the score due to the metric. Yeah. So that's where the waste is. The waste is that it produces a little bit too much aluminum on this bottom pipeline than can be used by the reactors over here. And also this last reactor is rate limiting, it seems. If I run, yeah, it will eventually clog. But this solution finishes before it clogs. 965 is where it crashes, but it finishes its 43rd output at 960. So, sub 1,000 in cycle count. Very, very nice. For a metric of 1344. Congratulations. Coming up next is Darius 1, whose solution title is titled it's Darius 1's solution that does not. Alright, let's import as a new solution, and that's because of this pipe over here. Alright, I'm going to go and tune this pipe slightly differently. That is the same length, but it doesn't go into this this square, and that should allow me to work on it on this. Here we go. Yeah, because unfortunately that square is taken up. Alrighty, let's take a look at this one. A whole bunch of splitting. Whoa. Manganese, aluminum, carbon, nitrogen? No. Manganese, aluminum, carbon. Alright, so it's those 3 and those 3. It's dropping this nitrogen here. manganese, aluminum, carbon. And then manganese, aluminum, carbon. Alright, so it is... Oh, no, that is magnesium. That is not manganese. Alright, so we have 3 streams of manganese, aluminum, carbon, and then the last one is manganese, magnesium, then carbon. So let me go and quickly do that math. So that's 50 plus 25 here, plus 25 plus 6. No, it's not 50. It's 25 plus 13 plus 6. So it's 44 times 3. So that's 132 plus 43 because the magnesium is 12 instead of 13. So that's 175 atomic mass units that are coming, or yeah, numbers, atomic mass units that are coming out of this. I know technically it's not atomic mass units, but bear with me because Spacechem doesn't differentiate between the two. So that's 175 mass coming out of this, which means that it's throwing away 4 nitrogens for every single input. Yeah, it's throwing away 4 nitrogens every input, which is 28 mass every input. All right, let's take a look at this next reactor. All right, carbon gets split down to lithium. This carbon gets grabbed out of the way. That gets magnesium. Drop, drop, drop. Alrighty. Now that's a lot of stuff coming through. So lithium, carbon, magnesium, and nitrogen and lithium. I wonder what is happening in here. Alrighty. Fuse. So it's turning the lithium into the boron. Interesting for red. And then I'm guessing it's going to fuse a lithium into this aluminum to get the sulfur. Yeah, and this is just purely for setup reasons. So yes, it's making the lowest atomic mass stick. No, it's not, because this is magnesium instead of beryllium. So there's 8 atomic mass extra on this end of the stick than the smallest possible, or the lightest possible product. Let's see here. Ah, right, I missed that. That is a... Alright, let's take a look at that. It's doing something interesting and funky, because there was that last magnesium output coming from here. Right here. So this has no special casing for that, which means that this, when this comes in as magnesium, where is it? That's still aluminum. Is the next one? Yes. No? Where did it go? There's something... Okay. Something is... I'm definitely missing something. Okay, let's track this a little more carefully. Ah, the carbon is here instead of a nitrogen here. So this magnesium, the magnesium that was in this pipe gets turned into a carbon plus lithium stick here instead of a nitrogen plus lithium stick. If that's the case, what happens. This one right here. Fuse. Okay. Rotate. And this red has a special case here where it grabs this carbon here and corrects it by adding an extra hydrogen here. Interesting. All right, so for every output then, let's see here. How many outputs does this make? Theoretically, it only should be 4. Oh, right. Every 4. But every output wants 2 hydrogens here, and one of them actually wants 3 outputs. So this isn't quite 4 outputs per input, because it's limited by the amount of hydrogen available. Yeah. So this reactor will crash if it runs out of hydrogen, which is why there's a long hydrogen lead pipe and why there is a delay line here at the beginning. Yeah. It uses hydrogen just slightly too fast. But regardless, this solution, well, let's see. It's already, finishes on cycle 991, which is right around here. I went past a little bit too much. But because, well, it is 31 cycles more than the third place solution, but because this is 3 reactors instead of 5, this scores a metric of 1,189, which is about 160 score better than third place. So congratulations, Darius 1. This is... I very much like how elegant the solution is. It is unfortunate that it is a little bit hydrogen limited, but that's okay. And then in first place, it's Tough Thought. Whoops. Copy. Import as new solution. So we have element delta, and let's see, splitting into aluminum and manganese. Aluminum, manganese, and then this is just manganese. So this is a pure stream of aluminum and manganese. All right, so this is the manganese stream. All right, 13 plus 12 becomes 7 plus 6. And then 3, 3, 6. Interesting. Let's see what happens in this reactor. We have a stream of pure aluminum coming in the top here. Alrighty. 6 plus 3 is equal to 9, which is fluorine, which is white because it's 1 bond limit. Okay. I'm not going to question that for right now. Aluminum. It's going to be 13 plus 3 is going to be 16, so that's going to be the sulfur. And that is the stick. FNCS. Now, if you split fluorine, that will get you 5 plus 4. That's clever. So that will get you the blue and the red, which gets put onto the other end here. Unfortunately, these two colors are a little bit swapped, but that's very easily corrected. Yeah, so it just splits here. Very elegant. And I believe that's a timing loop just for stability reasons. Yes. All right. So, again, we know that this cannot possibly be making this at the right ratio because 203 does not divide into 38. And Tough Thought actually points this out. Specifically, there's one extra aluminum for every single one of these inputs that is waste. Well, congratulations, Tough Thought, on first place. This is a very, very fast solution. In fact, it runs in 680 cycles, which is a whole 311 cycles faster than the previous solution. It is one more reactor, so it is slightly penalized by that. But this metric is 884. It is sub 1,000 metric. It's sub 900 metric even. Congratulations, Tough Thought, on this solution. Yeah, it crashes at 862 cycles because this pipe that outputs aluminum gets clogged up. But yes. In conclusion, my comments are: one, I'm impressed that people actually ended up making the lightest possible product at a speed that was honestly rather impressive to me. The reason why I wanted to increase the input delay to 73 or 74, I don't remember. It was because I wanted to encourage the use of Greek fission. Well, more specifically, I wanted to encourage the more complicated fission pathways, because if the input delay was, say, 10 cycles per input, making one output per every input would have made would have allowed you to get a solution around 430 cycles if you just made one output per input. And at that rate, the assembly process becomes much more big of a deal than the fission math stuff, which is why I decided, yes, I need to bump this this input delay up. And 74, I'm glad that I managed to create the environment necessary to see this type of solution where people actually went and made these products of relatively very light elements going into the output. So overall, I am pretty impressed, and congratulations, Tough Thought, on getting first place for this. One thing that I will note, Gall sent me a solution on the dot, and I need to go and see if I can figure out how to get this incorporated into the scores. But we will take a look at that solution now. So, copy and import. So this is Gall's solution. Right. So this is right, Gall, I believe, is, yes, so he is part of the team Light Speed is Too Slow, I believe. And he found a solution that runs faster. at 882 cycles-ish. So if I go and calculate that, 882 times 1.4, I believe, is the penalty. Let me see if that's right. Yes. So 882 times 1.4, this would have scored 1,234.8. So this would have scored slightly higher points, but would not have made a difference in standings. So this would still have come in third place. Let's see here. Why is this one faster? The output assembly seems like it's been optimized because I no longer see a buildup of waste products in this pipeline here. Yeah. All right. With that, only thing left to do is to look at the non-scoring solutions. This week, we only had one other non-scoring solution that is not mine, and that is Yellow Bunnies. Let's see here. Who also did a one Waldo solution. There we go. That was a lot of flip-flops. Yeah, and this is doing one output per element delta input using the same algorithm as, yeah, just splitting, yeah, 203 into 102 plus 101. And you split 102 into 51 plus 51. And that'll get you 26 plus 25, and that'll get you 13 plus 12. Yeah, this puzzle has definitely made me look at element names a lot more. Almost memorize them and, you know, correlate the numbers to their names and colors and number of bonds, and I don't know. Alrighty. Well, in that case, I believe that will be the end of the video. Yes. Let's see here. I'll take a look at the standings because that is rather interesting now. GG Goal is at number 1 with 23.581 points. Tough Thought at number 2 with 22.829. Darius 1 at 22.773. Andy, who did not submit for this round, at 21.763. Binky at 18.27 at 5th place. Big Mango Head, who I believe is in the team with GG Gall, is at 16.197 points. Resumes at 258. Yellow Bunny at 13.01. Jojo at 12.805. Astro Nelson at 12.507. Aningme at 11.432. Vipumave at 10.199. Whoever 314 at 10.072. Matter Monkey at 9.106. Britboy, who I believe is also in a team, but they did not submit for this round, 8.547. Foxadecimal 6.996. Username Void 4.909. Counterpoint 2.981. Zig 2.052. Neuter 1.212. Field Armada at 0.378. and MS Tang at 0.316. We will see all of you next week for the final puzzle of this tournament, which is Callats. Callats, right, the Callats conjecture. TLDR, if you take any number, if it is even, you divide by 2. If it's odd, you multiply it by 3. You multiply by 3 and you add 1. So 3n plus 1, or you go n divided by 2. That is the computation problem for this year. The question is, can you, given any single atom input, which is a number from 1 to 109, can you compute the next number in that sequence? So if I gave you the number 1, it's odd. So you would need to create 3n plus 1, which would be 4. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4, and that would be your output. If I gave you the number 5, it's also odd. So you have to go 3n plus 1. So that would be 15 plus 1 is 16. So that is, if I gave you an odd number, you need to multiply that number by 3 and add 1 to it. If it's an even number, you need to divide it by 2, which is very easy to do. We have a function in Spacechem called the split command just to do that. The problem is, you might notice that if I gave you a number like, say, 51, 51 times 3 is 153, plus 1 is 154. There is no atom that has 154 mass in Spacechem. If you get a number that is 154, or rather any number that's larger than 109, then you need to output a stop token, aka, hey, this is out of the limits of this paradigm, therefore here's a special output to say that this thing diverges because we do not have the capabilities of computing this. That stop token is element theta, or element 200, which is given as one of the inputs. The other input is pure hydrogen. So that is the task for round 8 call-ats. And yes, the inspiration of this comes from the call-ats conjecture, which is an unsolved mathematical problem. The question is, does that sequence, if you keep repeating it, does that sequence ever actually get down to 1 for all starting numbers? Because if you start at any number that is 2 to the power of n, right, then you can just divide all the way down by 2, all the way down to 1. And then 1 times 3 plus 1 is 4, then goes to 2, then 1. So this 4-2-1 loop is the only known stable loop in the realm of positive integers for this problem. But some numbers go very, very high. If you start with the number 27, I believe if you keep on iterating through that sequence, I believe it goes up as high as something like 16,000 or something before it crashes back down to this 4-2-1 loop. Of course, that's not doable in Spacechem, but I'm only asking you to compute the next iteration. If you take the number 9, 9 times 3 is 27, plus 1 is 28. That will divide down to 7. 7 times 3 plus 1 is 22. That'll go down to 11. That goes up to 34, because that's 33 plus 1. And 34 gets divided down to 17. 17 gets multiplied by 3 to 51, plus 1 is 52. Gets divided down to 26, then to 13. That multiplied by 3 is 39, plus 1 is 40. And that 40 goes down to 20, to 10, to 5. And 5 times 3 plus 1 is 16, and that is your power of 2. Yeah, some of these numbers can bounce around all over the place before it settles down to this 4-2-1 loop. But as far as we know, that is all integers, all positive integers end up in this 4-2-1 loop. But We don't know that for certain. And mathematics, I'm quoting someone, mathematics may not be ready to solve this kind of problem. I believe, was it Feynman who said that about the Collatz conjecture? Let me take a look real quick. Paul Erdos, not Feynman. Paul Erdos said about the Collatz conjecture, mathematics may not be ready for such problems, and he offered $500 for its solution. And Jeffrey Lagarius stated in 2010 that the Collatz conjecture is an extraordinarily difficult problem, completely out of reach of present-day mathematics. This is an interesting problem. Please don't actually spend time trying to solve this, because it has a reputation of being kind of like, if you're working on this problem, you're kind of crazy. So I do not recommend getting into the crazy complicated math that is the Collatz conjecture. Yeah. And right, about the other sequence here, the sequence for n equals to 27 climbs up to 9,232 before descending back down to the 421 loop. Yeah. So, have fun, everyone, with the last puzzle. I'm hoping that I'll eventually be able to get the bot to verify this, so I don't have to verify by hand. But it's worst case scenario. I will let the bot run through the thing and then figure out the point values at the end manually. All right, thank you, everyone. And I will see you all next week. -1 day. I might end up extending the last puzzle. Oh, we might want to hold a vote on that. Alright, goodbye everyone, and thanks for coming to the stream.